Hello everybody, my name is Sven Hogdahl and I'd like to speak to you today about J. Gresham Machen and the fundamentalist modernist debate that was really raging at the turn of the century after World War I, the Great Depression. This debate started long before then, but it really got heated up, and some of the focus was centered around the Presbyterian Church. And so the sources I am using for this come from the Baltimore Sun, where it speaks about a new Presbyterian church that was founded, and it deals with a declaration of faith by these new founders. Of course, J. Gresham Machen's part of that, and also a source from the Evening Star from Washington, D.C., and it's just talking about the Presbyterian Union, and it speaks about how J. Gresham Machen was withdrawing from the Presbyterian Church of the USA at the time. Another couple of sources that I used for this research come from the PC USA Historical Center. One of them is called The Changing Scene and the Unchanging World. And also J. Gresham Machen's own work, Christianity and Liberalism. When we're looking at fundamentalism and modernism, it's important for us to define our terms. When I'm thinking about the fundamentalist movement, I'm thinking of the movement that basically said, let's get back to the fundamentals of the Christian faith. Let's go back to the confessions. Let's go back to the creeds and look at what those things say. Let's think about things like the penal substitutionary atonement, the virgin birth of Jesus Christ, his resurrection from the dead, the truth of his miracles, those kinds of things. And when I think of modernists, I think of those who would question those fundamentals, those who would use a different sort of biblical methodology to study the scriptures, something known as higher criticism. So it's also important to know where J. Gresham Machen fits into this whole debate. Some people would call Machen a fundamentalist. I think he himself would not have liked that name, but he did fight for the fundamentalist cause. He was a New Testament scholar at Princeton at the time this was going on. But Machen wasn't just dealing with this issue as if he were throwing stones over some random wall. He had actually been over the wall to the other side and was close to becoming a modernist himself back in 1905 when he sat under the teachings of a German scholar named Wilhelm Hermann. And he was so impressed by Hermann and the way that this guy could be a Christian and also a modernist that it really rocked Machen to his core. And so Machen had to go back to the United States and really rethink his faith. Thankfully, Machen didn't fall into that camp and actually came back and really had to do some wrestling for a long time with his own faith. But he came out on the side of actual solid truth, and he came out as a reluctant fundamentalist. Machen himself didn't really fit in with the fundamentalist group. In fact, he didn't really like to be called a fundamentalist. He didn't like the term. It says right here, "Do you suppose that I do not regret my being called by a term that I greatly dislike, a fundamentalist? Most certainly I do, but in the presence of a great common foe," which would be modernism, "I have little time to be attacking my brethren who stand with me in defense of the Word of God." Even though Machen was a reluctant fundamentalist, he became one of the greatest allies to the fundamentalist movement when he wrote his book Christianity and Liberalism in 1923. This book basically lays out the thesis that modernists were of a completely different religion, that they were subscribing to ideas that would put them outside of orthodoxy. Some of Machen's critics would have said that he was divisive. He was quite a divisive figure, but Machen was willing to die on the hill of orthodoxy. He was afraid that liberalism was infecting his own church, and therefore he was willing to leave. In fact, in the article, The Changing Scene, he says that it is not a schism to break away from an apostate church. Indeed, it is schism to remain in an apostate church, since to remain in an apostate church is to separate from the true church of Jesus Christ. So, in conclusion, I'd like to just basically say that J. Gresham Machen is probably one of the greatest defenders of the Christian faith during the 20th century. His book is still very readable today and applicable to our own times.